Shalom, chapter 21 of 1 Kings from Yah Scriptures. And it came to be after these events that Naboth the Yisraelite had a vineyard which was in Yisrael. It's so interesting saying this word because it reminds me of Yisrael. I don't know if I'm saying Yisrael or Yisrael or what the difference is, but I'm going to find out. Okay. Near the palace of Ahab, the sovereign of Shamron. And Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, Give me your vineyard, and it shall be a vegetable garden for me, since it adjoins my house. And let me give you a better vineyard for it. If it is good in your eyes, let me give you its worth in silver. And Naboth said to Ahab, Far be it from me, by Yahweh, that I should give this inheritance of my fathers to you. And Ahab went into his house embittered and displeased because of the word which Naboth had spoken to him when he said, I do not give you this inheritance of my fathers. And he lay down on his bed and turned away his face and did not eat food. And Jezebel his wife came to him and said to him, Why is your spirit so embittered that you are not eating food? And he said to her, Because I spoke to Naboth and said, Give me your vineyard for silver, or if you prefer, I give you another vineyard for it. But he answered, I do not give you my vineyard. So Isabel, his wife, Jezebel, said to him, Do you now rule over Israel? Rise up, eat food, let your heart be glad. Let me give you the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite. Then she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and the nobles who were dwelling in the city with Naboth. And she wrote in the letter, saying, Proclaim a fast, and seat Naboth at the head of the people. And seat 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, You have blasphemed Elohim and the sovereign. Then you shall take him out and stone him to death. And the men of his city, the elders and nobles who were inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had sent to them, as if it was written in the letters which she had sent. They proclaimed a fast, they seated Naboth at the head, and the men and sons of Belial came in and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying that he blasphemed Elohim and the sovereign. So they took him outside the city and stoned him with stones, and he died. And they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth has been stoned and is dead. And it came to be when Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise and go take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite, which he refused to give you for silver. For Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to be when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose to go down to take possession of the vineyard. And the word of Yahweh came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, Rise up, go down and meet Ahab, sovereign of Israel, who lives in Shamron. See, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone down to take possession of it. Ye shall speak to him and say, Says Yahweh, Have you murdered and also taken possession? And ye shall speak to him, saying, This says Yahweh, in this place where dogs lick the blood, the dogs are going to lick your blood. And Ahab said to Eliyahu, Have you found me, O my enemy? He answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do evil in the eyes of Yahweh. See, I am bringing evil upon you, and shall consume your descendants, and cut off from Ahab every male in Israel, both those shut up and those left at large, and make your house like the house of Jeroboam son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha son of Abiyahu, because of the provocation with which you have provoked me and made Israel sin. Also of Jezebel, Yahweh has spoken, saying, The dogs are going to eat her up by the wall. The dogs are going to eat whoever belongs to Ahab and dies in the city, and the birds of the heavens are going to eat whoever dies in the field. Indeed, there never was anyone like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of Yahweh, because Jezebel his wife stirred him up. And he acted very abominably in following idols according to the Amorites and what they had done, whom Yahweh dispossessed from before the children of Israel. And it came to be when Ahab heard those words that he tore his garments and put sackcloth on his body, and fasted and lay in sackcloth and went softly. And the word of Yahweh came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, See how Ahab has humbled himself before me? Because he has humbled himself before me, I do not bring the evil in his days. But in the days of his son, I will bring the evil on his house. Wow, hallelujah. Chapter 22. And they continued 3 years without fighting between Aram and Israel. And it came to be in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Judah, came down to the sovereign of Israel, and the sovereign of Israel said to his servants, Do you know that Ramoth and Gilead is ours, and we are keeping silent from taking it out of the hand of the sovereign of Aram? And he said to Jehoshaphat, Do you go with me to battle at Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the sovereign of Israel, I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. And Jehoshaphat said to the sovereign of Israel, Please first inquire for the word of Yah. And the sovereign of Israel gathered the prophets, about 400 men, and said to them, Do I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or do I refrain? And they said, Go up, for Yahweh gives it into the hand of the sovereign. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahweh besides, that we might inquire of him? And the sovereign of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, There is still one man, Micaiah, son of Yimlah, to inquire of Yahweh by him. But I hate him because he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the sovereign say so. So the sovereign of Israel called an officer and said, Bring Micaiah, which is Micaiah, that means who is like Yahweh, son of Yimlah, at once. And the sovereign of Israel and Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Judah, were sitting each on his throne, dressed in their robes, at a threshing floor at the entrance of the gate of Shamaron. And all the prophets were prophesying before them. And Sidkiyahu, son of Canaaniah, had made horns of iron for himself, and said, Thus says Yahweh, With these you push the Arameans until they are destroyed. And all the prophets were prophesying so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Yahweh shall give it into the hand of the sovereign. And the messenger who had gone to call Micaiah spoke to him, saying, See now, the words of the prophets with one mouth are good towards the sovereign. Please let your word be like the word of one of them, and you shall speak good. And Micaiah said, As Yahweh lives, whatever Yahweh says to me, that I speak. And he came to the sovereign, and the sovereign said to him, Micaiah, do we go against them, or do we refrain? He answered and said, Go and prosper, for Yahweh shall give it. And the sovereign said, How many times have I made you swear that you do not speak to me, except the truth in the name of Yah? So he said, I saw all of Israel scattered on the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. And Yah said, These have no master. Let everyone return to his house in peace. This verse 17 reminds me of another scripture, and I can't think of it right now. I'll post it in the description, but it just connected me to something I think Yeshua says. Okay, verse 18. And the sovereign of the Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Have I not said to you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? Then he said, Therefore, hear the word of Yah. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the host of the heavens standing by him, on his right and on his left. And Yah says, Who shall entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And this one said this, and another said that. And a spirit came forward and stood before Yahweh and said, Let me entice him. And Yahweh said to him, In what way? And he said, I shall go out and be a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of all the prophets. And he said, Entice him and also prevail, go out and do so. And now, see, Yahweh has put a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of all these prophets of yours, and Yahweh has spoken evil concerning you. And Sidkiyahu, son of Canaaniah, came near and struck Micaiah on the cheek and said, "Where did the Spirit of Yahweh pass over from me to speak to you?" And Micaiah said, "Look, you shall see on that day when you go into an inner room to hide. And the sovereign of Israel says, Take Micaiah and return him to Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, son of the sovereign, and say, Thus says the sovereign, put this one in prison and feed him with bread of affliction and water of affliction until I come in peace." And Micaiah said, if you ever return in peace, Yahweh has not spoken by me. He says, "Hear, all you people." And the sovereign of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the sovereign of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "Let me disguise myself and go into battle, but you put on your robes." So the sovereign of Israel disguised himself and went into battle. And the sovereign of Aram had commanded the 32 commanders of his chariots, saying, "Fight with no one small or great, but only with the sovereign of Israel." And it came to be when the commanders of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, "Indeed, it is the sovereign of Israel." So they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. It came to be when the commanders of the chariots saw that it was not the sovereign of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a man drew a bow in his simplicity and smote the sovereign of Israel between the joints of his armor. And he said to the driver of his chariot, "Turn around and take me out of the battle, for I am wounded." And the battle increased that day, and the sovereign was propped up in his chariot, facing the Arameans, and died at evening, and the blood ran out from the wound onto the floor of the chariot. And as the sun was going down, a shout passed through the camp, saying, "Each to his city, and each to his land." So the sovereign died and was brought to Shamaron, and they buried the sovereign in Shamaron. And when the chariot was washed at a pool in Shamaron, the dogs licked up his blood where the whores bathed, according to the word of Yahweh which he spoke. And the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he built, and all the cities he built, they are written in the king of Israel, in the book of the king of Israel. And so Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his place, and Jehoshaphat son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, sovereign of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he became sovereign. He reigned 25 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of his father Asa. He did not turn aside from them, doing what was right in the eyes of Yahweh. Only the high places were not taken away, for the people slaughtered and burned incense on the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the sovereign of Israel. And the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and the might that he showed, and how he fought, are written in the book of the kings of Judah. And the rest of the cult prostitutes who remained in the days of his father Asa cleared out from the land. And there was then no sovereign in Edom. A deputy was sovereign. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold. However, they did not go, for the ships were wrecked at Etzion Geber. Then Ahaziah, son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go with your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat would not. So Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers and was buried with fathers in the city of David, his father. And Jehoram his son reigned in his place. Now Ahaziah, son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Shamaron. In the 17th year of Jehoshaphat's sovereign of Judah, he reigned 2 years over Israel, and did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin, and served Baal, and bowed himself to Baal, and provoked Yahweh Elohim, according to all that his father had done.